The chronivores moved through the galaxy not as ships or armies, but as ripples in time itself. They were an ancient, enigmatic species that consumed causality, unraveling timelines, devouring moments, until only static, fractured echoes remained. They were not malicious. They simply were, driven by an alien imperative to absorb the linear progression of existence. Planets would vanish not in explosions, but as if they had never been. Civilizations would wink out, their histories undone, their future potentials erased. For the chronivores, a moment consumed was a moment optimized, leaving behind only the perfect, timeless stillness of non-causal existence. They had absorbed the memory weavers, beings whose entire biology was tied to the communal recollection of their past. When the chronivores touched them, their memories simply skipped, then looped, then ceased to exist, their histories unraveling until they became blank, unstoried beings, eventually fading from existence. The pattern seekers, a species obsessed with predicting future events, found their probabilistic models collapsing. The chronivores devoured the very threads of cause and effect that made prediction possible, leaving the pattern seekers lost in a sea of meaningless data, their purpose undone. But then the chronivores turned their focus towards a peculiar, noisy, and utterly illogical species: humanity. On the research station Temporal Anchor 7, hovering precariously on the edge of a known chronivore distortion, Captain Elias Thorne watched a crew manifest flickering. Names vanishing, then reappearing, then shifting to impossible roles. He felt a familiar memory, his first mission, his daughter's laugh, shudder, then fragment, becoming a disjointed collection of sensory data without narrative. The reports from Outer Rim Gamma 9, his science officer, Dr. Lena Petrova, stated, her voice unnaturally flat. "They're gone, not destroyed, just never were. Our records indicate a colony there, but no supporting data. No initial mission, no supply lines. The cause and effect is unraveling." Elias gripped the console. "They're eating time. Our very past is becoming indigestion." Lena nodded, her gaze fixed on a monitor showing a waveform of causality. "Our chronometers are skipping seconds, minutes, sometimes entire hours. We are losing coherent time. Our actions, they're becoming disconnected from their consequences." She paused, a new, horrifying realization dawning. "They're trying to unravel us." The chronivores began their assault on humanity. Their field washed over human space, targeting the very linear progression of human thought, memory, and action. They expected human history to unravel, human consciousness to fragment into disjointed moments, human actions to become utterly meaningless. But humanity was different. Humanity had a profound, often inconvenient, capacity for narrative obsession. For inventing stories, creating meaning, and stubbornly imposing an illogical sequence onto even the most chaotic, non-causal events. As the chronivore field intensified, human perception began to fragment. Memories became jumbled, cause and effect dissolved. Elias found himself remembering a conversation he hadn't had, or seeing the outcome of an action before he'd taken it. Panic should have set in, but the very concept of panic, a cause leading to an effect, was being unraveled. Then a strange, illogical thing happened. Humans, adrift in the collapsing causality, began to tell stories. Not of what was, but of what should have been, or what might be. A soldier, seeing his rifle materialize in his hand before he remembered aiming, instinctively narrated, "I raised my weapon, aiming at the target." A scientist, finding her experiment had yielded results she hadn't sought, would loudly declare, "Based on my hypothesis, the data confirmed." "They're resisting the unmaking," Lena exclaimed, her voice filled with a desperate, exhilarating clarity. "Our minds, they're creating causality where there is none. We're imposing a story onto reality, forcing a sequence. We're making up a past and a future just to be in a present. Elias watched a young engineer, rendered blind by the temporal distortion, meticulously feeling his way across a room, narrating his movements aloud. First, my left foot steps, then my right. I reach for the wall, and for that engineer, the wall was there. The cause and effect for him existed because he willed it into being through narrative. The chronivores, designed to consume existing causality, found themselves facing an active generation of it. Their methods, optimized for unraveling, were useless against a species that spontaneously created the very thing they were designed to absorb. They tried to dissolve a human's memory of their home planet, only for the human to invent a more detailed, illogical, and robust past for it on the spot, creating new causal threads faster than the chronivores could consume them. Their attempts to remove a future outcome only spurred humanity to narrate a new, stubbornly plausible future, forcing the chronivores to absorb a future that didn't exist until it was described. It was a cosmic paradox. The ultimate eraser met the ultimate, relentless storyteller. The chronivores didn't break or shriek. They simply stagnated. Their rhythmic consumption of causality faltered. They found themselves consuming endless, newly generated, self-contradictory narratives of existence, like trying to empty an ocean by drinking from a perpetually refilling cup. They were overloaded by generated purpose, by invented meaning. Their temporal ripples, accustomed to expanding unopposed, found themselves meeting a wall of spontaneously generated cause and effect. They could not unravel what was constantly being rewoven by an act of sheer, illogical will. The chronivores shifted course. Their ripples retreated from human space, leaving behind a sector still scarred by temporal instability, but defiantly existent. They classified humanity as causality anomaly, narrative self-sustaining. They simply moved on, seeking quieter, more complacent timelines to consume. The cosmic pressure lifted. The galaxy, though still fractured by the chronivores' influence, now vibrated with the messy, vital hum of human stories, constantly being told, retold, and invented. Elias gripped Lena's hand. Her memory of him was still a jumble, but his memory of her, now pieced together by sheer, stubborn will, was clear. "We didn't destroy them," Lena said, a strange, triumphant glint in her eyes. "We just gave them a headache. A conceptual nightmare." Elias looked out at the stars, still flickering with temporal distortions, but solidifying slowly, because humans were telling stories about them. "We made our own reality, Doctor. Just by refusing to stop believing in it. Humanity was safe, but the cost was subtle. The galaxy now viewed humanity as the story weavers, forever seen as a species whose reality was less objective and more an act of communal, stubborn imagination. Other species, while safe from temporal unraveling, often kept their distance, finding humans' capacity for creating their own truths baffling and sometimes unsettling. Humans, in turn, found themselves grappling with a heightened awareness of their own powerful, if terrifying, ability to construct reality through narrative, sometimes struggling to discern objective truth from shared, willed-into-being fiction, forever defined by their stubborn refusal to let go of their own story. "So what now, Captain?" Lena asked, beginning to hum a familiar, illogical, but deeply comforting tune. Elias smiled, a genuine smile that cemented itself into a coherent memory. Now we tell the galaxy our story. And maybe," he added, a spark of mischievous brilliance in his eye, "we convince them to believe in it too."